What's up, everybody? This is Jesse, Slot City Fishing. Had the day off, thought I'd make you guys another video. This one's gonna be about the topic I get asked about the most, whether if it's out in town and they see I have all this gear with me, or the comment section in my videos. That's how I film and edit my videos for my YouTube channel. This doesn't have to be for a YouTube channel. Same skills, you could use it for a commercial product for a client. You could use it for like your family vacation if you want home movies. It's any application. It's really how to film video and edit, and you can upload it to whatever you want. But anyway, this is gonna be a long video, so before you click off of here, because you see that it's like 25 or 30 minutes long, look down in the description, and then we're gonna have all the topics covered in this video time hacked. That way, if you already know about some of this stuff, you don't gotta suffer through the the parts that you already know about, or if you just don't care about that part, like you don't have a drone yet or whatever. So in today's video, what we're gonna talk about is all of my gear, what I use. I'm specifically a fishing YouTube channel, so what I use, so GoPros. We'll talk about how to set up a rig with an external battery pack and a microphone for a head mount and for a chest mount. And then I'll show you my system for how I charge and change batteries in my GoPros when I'm out there on the water. And then I'll show you all my settings that I use for how I film, specifically looping mode, if you haven't heard of that. And then I'll show you the resolutions and frame rates that I use. Next topic will be DSLR cameras. I have 2 of them. I'll show you what I use them for. What type of shots you can get out of those, microphone that I use for that, and the settings for like slow motion B-roll, or like for a camera view like we're kind of doing right now, like a one-on-one, you talking to the camera. Drone footage. DJI makes it seem like you can get a drone and take it out of the box and film and you're gonna get a super beautiful cinematic shot. That's not the case. So I'll show you how to get buttery smooth, nice drone footage for settings and all that. Neutral density filters, I use them on all of my cameras. I'll show you what they are, what they do, the benefit for you. And then the second half of this video, probably the part that most of you guys are really interested in, is how to take all that footage off of all these cameras, organize it into your computer, dump it into editing software, and start clipping that all together. So I'll show you what I use, the software I use. I'll show you how I upload it into my hard drive, organize it, and then start importing it in. Your workflow for editing is super important, like how you import and organize that footage. It'll save you hours and hours and hours. I'll show you how to edit multiple camera angles into one clip. It took me a while to figure out how to do that. And then I'll show you some effects, so like slow motion, titles, different filters for crazy color grading effects and all that kind of stuff. And then once you have it put together how you like it, I'll show you how to export it into a format that I use for YouTube. And we'll talk about uploading onto YouTube also, because it's a nightmare in itself. It's not as easy as it would seem. I'll also show you how to get music for your videos without getting copyright strikes. That's a pretty big one. Yeah, that's gonna be the video. Throughout the video, I'm gonna show you different clips of what all these cameras look like also. That way you can see what a GoPro Hero 4 looks like with no microphone. Dinker spick! You lost, boy. To what a GoPro Hero 6 looks like with a microphone. It's a pretty big difference. Oh, ooh, good red, good red, good red. I think it's a red. But anyway, enough talking, and we'll get into this. All right, let's talk about GoPros. I have the Hero 4 Silver, the Hero 5 Black, and the Hero 6 Black. I bought my first GoPro in 2014 when I lived in Hawaii for spearfishing, and when I would take the family out diving in like Hanama Bay, we would look at fish and stuff. It was cool. At the time, all that I did was just hit record, and I would let it run until the battery ran out. So I was not using it very effectively. Then I figured out about looping mode. I'll show you how to do that real quick. You're gonna go into your camera settings, you're gonna go to loop mode, and you're gonna put it on looping. What that does for you is it will, once you hit the shutter and you have it on 5-minute loops is what I would suggest, you start recording 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute, little 1 minute clips, so 5 1-minute clips. Once you record that last minute out of your 5 minutes, it's gonna delete the first minute and then start recording another 1 minute clip at the end. So in your GoPro, when you hit playback, it's gonna look like a whole bunch of 1 minute clips, but when you import the footage, it's gonna be a 5-minute clip. So what that does for you, if you're fishing, is you know, you go out there, you hook up and you land a fish. As long as you land him within 5 minutes and then you hit that shutter, you're gonna have recorded from when you got the hook up all the way up until when you landed him. Probably even the cast too. So you'll get like when you casted it, when you hooked up, when you landed him, and then hit that shutter and then you captured that moment. And then you can hit it again if you wanna, like, you know, here's my fish, it's cool, if you wanna get that type of shot. Now let's talk frame rates and resolutions. What I shoot in on my GoPros is 1080p at 60 frames per second linear. What that does for me is 1080 is in HD. 60 frames per second makes it to where you can slow down that footage 50% and it's still gonna be buttery smooth. If you go at a lower frame rate like 30, your eye can see that and it's gonna look jittery, like in your slow motion. Then you can go higher than that, like the GoPro Hero 6 Black. It can shoot at 1080p at 120 frames per second, which is pretty incredible. But when you start getting into those higher frame rates, your editing becomes more complicated, and then your storage needs become way bigger. Okay, let's talk about 4K real quick and why I don't use 4K. It looks amazing. It's very, very cool. Big reasons for me is your file sizes are going to be huge. So like a 20-minute 4K clip is like 20 gigs, like a crazy huge file. And then when you go to edit it, you better have a super fast computer. This is a 2012 MacBook Pro that I edit on. If I had known that I was going to be getting into the YouTube game and editing video, I would have bought a way more powerful machine, but this is what I have. And to render and export, we'll talk about that later on in this video when we talk about editing. You're looking at a long time, like overnight, to export a 4K video, unless you have a super fast computer, which I don't. Also, your editing times become way longer because your computer has to be strong enough to crunch down all of that data. So I use 1080 at 60 frames per second. And then the linear mode makes it to where it takes away the fishbowl vignetting like GoPro look. You know, I'm talking like the wide angle. It's got the warped corners. I don't like that. I like my footage to look like I shot it with a higher end camera. So I put it into linear. Just be careful that you have a really good camera view set first, because if you don't, when you go to linear, like here's the whole fishbowl image, it crops in a square that's smaller. So I've done it a lot where I thought I had a good camera angle and like I'm fighting the fish and I'm way up here and I miss everything. So always make sure that you check your camera angles and your audio before you start filming with your GoPros. All right, for the head mount, you're gonna buy, this is the Action Cap. All right, but anyway, mount your GoPro to that, and then you got your external battery bank. Electrical tape that guy down to where the clasp of the hat is. So now that's fixed on there, and then use, I use like the little wire ties like they come on a loaf of bread, or like, you know, cables, or like if you got kids, like you buy their toys and like they got those little black twist tie things in it, you know what I'm talking about. Use that stuff to route your cables, and then route them up. You gotta have, for the Hero 4, you have to have the external battery pack. It's called a backdoor something. I'll link it to Amazon. And then what that does is it gives you another USB port. So plug in one of them into your external battery bank, and then you got it right there. And then you're gonna use your other USB that's on the GoPro itself to plug in your mic. For the mic, I use the Purple Panda. It comes with all the adapters that you need to plug into your GoPro. So you have to have one that goes from a 3.5mm headphone jack, female, to the micro USB. If you don't buy this kit, you got to buy that separately, and you have to buy a TRRS to a TRS adapter. So the Purple Panda kit just makes it easy. Just buy that. If not, you got to buy a whole bunch of other adapters and stuff. So we talked about the hat with the GoPro mount on it, battery, routing your cables, plugging it in, and your microphone. The mic is cool because it has a little clip. It's a lapel mic. If it's a super windy day, you can turn it upside down, and now the cap, the brim of the cap is like a wind blocker, and then the microphone is right up by your face. And I've never had any issues as far as my mic clipping from me being too close to it. I don't know if that's the design of the mic or what, but that's not an issue. If you know about audio, you can't clip that mic unless you're like screaming. All right, let's talk about the chest rig. That's my GoPro Hero 4 Silver, and then I have a Hero 5, and I have a Hero, where is it, 6 Black. Here it is. All right, so for the Hero 5 and the Hero 6, and then they just released the Hero 7, which it looks pretty awesome. But anyway, that'll be a whole other video if I get one day, because it could do some cool stuff, like live streaming. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, chest rig. You're gonna buy the GoPro chest rig. You can buy them at like Walmart, anywhere really. And then similar to your the head rig, you're gonna get an external battery pack, and then that same Purple Panda mic. Zip tie the battery bank to the chest rig. If you watch my kayak upgrade video, this is just a piece of that deck mat foam, and I don't think that this battery would get hot, but it's like padding because it's gonna go like on my chest. Zip tie the battery bank, then route all your cables, and then here's that. For the 5 and 6, it's a different connector. So there's only one USB-C on the Hero 6. So to plug up a battery pack and a microphone, you have to have this connector, and unfortunately it's like 60 bucks. Gotta have that, and then you plug your battery into it and your microphone into it. I just electrical taped all the cables to get them like out of the way. That way you're not snagging them on stuff or whatever. And then you clip on your mic, and then what you end up with is your chest rig. So now if you do if you stand up and fish like on the bank or whatever, this is a perfect rig for you, because you'll get used to it, like knowing where your reel is inside the shot, and you'll just become very aware of like, okay, if I have it right here, I'm blocking the view. But you'll figure it out, and then you can adjust the height of it. You can make it up high, or you can put it like way down low. Just play with it. But yeah, now chest rig, battery pack, microphone. It's charging all day. It's looping. You can record all day with this rig. All right, next topic be DSLR cameras. So why do you use a DSLR? You don't have to. You can shoot everything on a GoPro. My two cameras, I have a Nikon D3200 and a D5300, and what you use these for is you can change out the lenses on them, so you can see this one can zoom a pretty good bit, and you just have more like creative control over the image that you're creating. So all that B-roll that you see where you know, you got the point of interest in the shot and then everything else is blurred out in the background, you know, that's from a DSLR camera. All the photography aspects that control that kind of stuff in the GoPro, they're fixed. You can't change that kind of stuff. You can go in there and change like ISO and white balance, but aperture, which is like the amount of camera light that hits the sensor, those GoPros are fixed aperture. You can't change that, but on a DSLR you can. All the settings and stuff on a DSLR camera, you gotta go to school for that. I have no idea. I'm very, very basic in my shooting. Yeah, B-roll is what I use it for. So like when I show up, like while I'm launching, it's easier if there's more than one of you, because somebody can be filming while the other person's setting up. Because I'll say it a few times in this video, while you're filming, you're not fishing, and your video is gonna suck if you're a fishing channel and you don't catch any fish. So definitely spend the majority of your time trying to capture your actual content, not just shooting videos, because they're gonna be boring unless you do some good stuff. Another thing super important when you're going to pick out your DSLR camera is its autofocus capabilities. These two cameras in particular, and Nikon in general, they're geared more towards photography and not video. Nikon, your cameras suck for video, sorry. Canon, starting with the 70D and up, I forget what it's called. Their autofocusing system is very, very good, like seamless. Like the average person can't tell when that camera is focusing. All right, drones. If you're gonna buy a drone, buy once, cry once, buy a DJI. They're amazing. Few reasons. They have a GPS system that will keep you from violating any airspace. So unless you are very savvy with aviation rules, FAA rules, your cheaper drones, they'll let you get in trouble. They'll let you fly straight through a Class Bravo airport right over a whole bunch of airplanes. That's a really, really quick way to get in very, very big trouble. The software that DJI uses, it's got like maps and stuff. It knows all the airspace and it won't let you get in trouble. I have a pilot's license, so it's not really a big deal for me. But yeah, when you start flying drones, know what you're doing. Like, you can get in big trouble with a drone. Anyway, DJI won't let you fly into big congested airports or airspace. It'll physically stop and then turn it around and bring it back to you. So that's a pretty cool thing. It'll keep you from getting in trouble. Two, the cameras are really, really good on here. They have gimbals already on them, so they just look really, really nice. This is a DJI Mavic Air. The reason I bought this one is because, check it out. So I'm a fishing channel, and I can keep this in my kayak, and I can launch it and recover it from my kayak. It's very, very small. The DJI Phantom 4 Pro and up, they have more powerful cameras on it, but like for the average dude, like for what I do, it looks incredible. I don't need anything more than this, and I like it that it's small. Settings that I use for my drone, this can get tricky. When I first started doing this, lower frame rates look better if your image is not moving fast. So like 1080 at 30, it makes it to where the images get kind of blurred together in a way that looks natural to us. But if you shoot at 1080 at 30 with a drone, and this thing can fly 50 miles an hour, it makes it to where the image, you're only getting so many shots per second, and you can see it. It's gonna look jittery. I'll show you an example. So what I use is 1080 at 60, and I never do slow motion with my drone footage. If I want it to be slower, I just fly the drone slower. And that's because, to me, slow motion drone footage just doesn't look that good unless you're shooting at a very high frame rate and you're moving the drone very slowly. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about drones other than they're awesome. Alright, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is ND filters, neutral density filters. What they do is kind of complex, but the benefit of it, you don't have to really know much about it at all to get the benefit. But just to give you a quick explanation of what they do, your drone and your GoPros, they're fixed aperture, which means that you have no control over the amount of light that's getting into the sensor of that camera. So automatically that camera is using what it's seeing to adjust the digital aspect of that camera. And what I'm talking about is particularly the shutter speed. So if it's very, very bright outside, your camera is gonna adjust the shutter speed to a super fast shutter speed, which makes it to where that shutter opens and closes very, very fast. All right. There's a rule in filmmaking that you want your shutter speed to be half of or double your frame rate. So if you're shooting at 60, you want your shutter speed to be around 120-ish shutter speed. And it has to do with the way that your brain perceives the image. So if the shutter is opened up longer, the image is going to be blurred slightly. If you remember, if you're old enough, shooting on film cameras, if you're moving and you hit the shutter when you developed your film, it would be kind of blurry. It's the same concept, but you're using that to your advantage. So here's an ND filter right here. Basically all that it is sunglasses for your camera lens. And I got these frames for my GoPros, and then I bought ND filters for my drone. So if you ever notice, the best looking video footage is shot when the sun is coming up and when the sun is going down. They call it like the golden hour or something, right? And it has to do is because of your cameras, the amount of light that's hitting the sensor of the camera. So by using an ND filter, you can trick the camera into thinking that it's not very bright outside and slow down the shutter speed of your camera. On GoPros, it's noticeable. But on drone footage, it's super noticeable when you have ND filters on. And it's because the drone moves so quickly. When you have that shutter speed that is double your frame rate, the images, just so say if it's 60 frames per second, they blur into each other just enough to where it's super, super smooth. Not like a digital image. So I'll show you the difference in drone footage, that way you can see what an ND filter does. Here it is without an ND filter and me moving the drone really, really fast. You can see that it looks like it's just unnatural to the eye. The eye can see that it's not very natural. And then here it is with an ND filter, and you can just tell it blurs the image just enough to where it looks like it's one continuous shot, not 60 individual pictures all linked together. But yeah, your eye is powerful enough to see that. So on your fixed aperture cameras, it's super easy. All that you do is just throw your ND filter on it, and then it does it on its own. And then they come in different f-stop. So I don't want to get too crazy into this, man, because it's going to go over all y'all's heads, including mine. I can barely explain this stuff. The f-stop is the aperture of your camera. It's how much light is hitting the sensor of the camera. And your ND filters come in different sizes. So what I do is I throw on a very small one and then I don't even mess with it, man. You can go crazy with these things, but if you put on like an ND 16 filter, it will take all the color out of your image. And I may still have it, man. I'll try to find it, but I did some GoPro or some drone footage one time where I had like a super high ND filter on it, and it looked like I was on friggin' Mars. It looks strange. It takes all the color out of the shot. But yeah, I just throw on a small one. Like if it's gonna be a really bright day outside, I'll throw on a 2.5 or a 4, and that's it. And then it will just naturally do its thing. Like the camera will open up the shutter and let in more light to compensate for that ND filter. And so I use them on both my GoPros and I use them on the drone. If you're shooting in the auto mode on your camera, you can also put it on your DSLR cameras, which I haven't done before, but it would work. Same concept. All this gonna do is your camera's gonna perceive that it's darker outside and open up the shutter speed. That way more light can hit the sensor. And I hope that made sense. It's much easier to see it than it is for me to explain it, because I probably sucked at explaining it. But anyway, there you go. So this portion of the 2-part series, I decided to make this a 2-part series. I finished the whole video last night, and it ended up being like an hour long, and I know that nobody's gonna watch an hour-long YouTube video, so I decided to break it up into 2 parts. That's like the gear portion, and then I'm just gonna pull that SD card out of the camera, and then I'm gonna edit this video and film it while I'm editing it. That way, the video that you just saw, I'm gonna show you how we made it with all the title screens, everything in Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm gonna take out the SD card, I'm gonna show you how to put all that footage onto your hard drive, organize it, sort it, how to use Adobe Premiere Pro, bring it up, dump in all the footage, clip it all together. We'll make a title screen, effects. I'll show you how to get super good audio. That's a big thing, man, for me at least on YouTube, is if I hear wind noise at all on a fishing video, next, I don't watch it, man. That may seem shallow, but that's just a preference thing, I guess. I don't know, it just doesn't seem very professional to me. I just don't want to hear it. What else? Yeah, so subscribe if you haven't already. I hate to like beg for subscribers, but that's how you're gonna get notified when the second part of this video comes out. Because I don't think that there's any videos like this where start to finish they show you how to set up your cameras and then how to edit in Adobe. I'm pretty sure this will be the only one. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And then the whole video is already done. Now it's just uploading it. So the edit video should be up today also. But yeah, thanks for watching.